Hello everyone and welcome to a new video on Aloasis Academia. In today's video we will learn about how to reflect in your person statement. That's a very important skill to develop when writing person statements, and this video will take you step by step to break down everything and makes it very easy to understand. In the previous video about person statement, we learned different questions that helps you brainstorming ideas and bringing all the experiences and encourages you and teaches you to bring all the experiences you have done and be able to write them in the person statement. You can find it on my channel, so hopefully that video will help you. And it is like the first thing that you need to learn before start learning how to reflect in your person statement. You need first to learn different prompting questions that helps you uh, write down all the ideas and experiences that you will include in the person statement. Once you have all the ideas to include, then you start writing and start reflecting in the person statement. Let's start. Good. So in this video, we are transitioning from planning, which we did in part one, to writing, hopefully a strong person statement, which we're gonna learn in this video. So just a quick recap. In part one, what we learned was what a personal statement should demonstrate. So we learn different questions that prompts us to answer that point or to fulfill that point in the personal statement. Also, the second question was what are the main questions to answer? We covered that in the first video. We know the three main questions that makes the three main components of your personal statement, and also I covered like different prompting questions that helps you tackling and answering every one of these three questions. Then which experiences may be relevant. So also we went through different questions that helps us bring all the experiences we have done so far into sentences, and that's a skill also that you need to develop. In today's video, which is a part 2 video, what we're going to learn is how to write about these experiences, how to move beyond just description, and that's a very critical point, because I see that many students person statements, they fell into this mistake, which is when you read the person statement, they have done a lot of very good and high quality experiences, but they just didn't know how to write about them. Their person statement was just descriptive, listing the experiences, not really showing the reader what they have learned. So they didn't know how to use what they had. They had a lot of experiences, but they didn't know how to use it. And that's a very bad situation. Maybe I see some other students who didn't have as many experiences or as good experiences as those students. However, they really learned how to write about them, and they demonstrated these experiences and what they learned from these experiences in their personal statement in a very good way that makes their application way stronger than the other students who had more experiences but they didn't know how to write about them. The third thing that we're going to learn, how to demonstrate learning and relevance, and that's a very critical point. And the final one, it's very important, which is how to use the IER framework. This framework is just a step-by-step framework that hopefully will help you write the sentences and write the personal statements in a very reflective way without being too reflective or too descriptive. So it's gonna give you this nice balance, and hopefully when you apply this framework to the whole personal statement, at the end your personal statement will have a very strong flow, very strong structure, and you will have a very good chance in when applying for universities. So the main point and take home point from this slide is that you need to understand that having relevant experiences is not enough in a person statement. Okay, you must know how to write about them clearly. Okay, saying what you learned and why it matters and how this developed your skills. This is very important when it comes to a person statement. It's not just listing experiences, and we will learn in this video how to do that. Okay, so I believe at first you need to be aware of the mistakes of a specific mistake that the students usually have, which is listening experiences. Maybe I will give you some few examples. This will help you to understand how to avoid and to learn how to avoid this mistake. So a weak example, So if you look at this sentence here, this will show you how a weak sentence look like in the person statement. So that student applying for medicine, they said in their person statement, they wrote, I completed hospital work experience, I volunteered at charity shop, attended an online medical lecture, and read a book about the human body. So it's very clearly that this student did different experiences. They show that they are trying to say from this sentence that they are enthusiastic about the course because they did some work experience of shadowing, they volunteered, they also went to do some online medical lectures, to attend some online medical lectures. So they didn't just stick to the school education, but they went to do some further studying like lectures and further reading as well on books. So it's very clear that this student is trying to say that they are enthusiastic about the course, but they are not saying that in the sentence. They are hinting, or they are that's the meaning that they're trying to deliver to the reader, but they are not saying that in the sentence, and that's where most of the students have mistakes. Okay. A second lecture is a second sentence is, I attended a lecture about biology and I completed an online course about genetics. So it shows that the students, what he's trying or she's trying to say is that beside their formal educational courses in school, they attended lectures about biology. They also went to do some online courses about genetics. So they are showing that they are developed interest, or that's what they are trying to say. So I can see that, but that's not acceptable in a person statement. Okay, because do not expect the reader to try to figure out what you're trying to mean with a sentence. Okay, these two sentences are example of weak sentences that the students try to show that they did what they did, or they did like some experiences, but they fell short of really showing the reader the full extent of what they learned from these experiences. So what this tells the reader, it's mainly tells them the activities that they have, that those students have completed. It doesn't tell anything else. Okay, it doesn't, even though, as I said, it might hint something, but do not expect the admission team to start thinking what you mean with the sentences. If you mean something, then write it down. Make sure that you write it very clearly. What these two sentences do not tell, they do not tell what you noticed about the experience when doing each of these experiences, what you learned from each experience. Does doing that experience changed your thinking of any way, encouraged you to do anything? So how these experiences really affected you? Did you reflect on them? Okay, all these points, they are not mentioned in these sentences. Also, why the experiences are relevant to the course you are applying for. If this student is applying for medicine, why hospital work experience is important for when doing a medical course. Why reading the book is important. So they didn't mention why these experiences are relevant to the course that they're doing, and they could have done that by saying and writing about what they learned from these experiences. And then they say, for example, I developed communication skills, and that's important when I'm doing medicine, when I'm doing the course, when I'm have some placement at hospitals, things like that. So a more developed writing of the second sentence here. So a more developed writing would say, a lecture about biology, or I attended a lecture about biology, which introduced me to the role of genetic mutations in uncontrolled cell division. So this first sentence, it's telling the reader what you learned from the experience, and it tells the reader the experience that you had. So you attended a lecture about biology, okay, and also tells me what you learned from the lecture. Then the student continues to say what this experience and learning about this, how that affected them. And this is by saying, this encouraged me to complete an online course about, or an online genetic course. Okay, so now this second sentence, it shows the reader that the student now, they have been affected by the experience that they had, and therefore they are now working further on that. If you remember from the first video, we talked about the progression of curiosity and how one experience could lead to another. So here, the experience of attending a lecture about biology encouraged you to do an online course about genetic. Okay, and the student didn't stop here. they went further to say that through which I became interested. So now they are saying, after doing this lecture and attending the online lecture about genetic, or doing the genetic course, now they are saying how this affected them. Okay, so they are saying that they became interested in how changes to tumor suppressor genes can influence disease development. So for a student who's applying for biology, this is the perfect sentence to add, because it also tells why the experience is relevant. Okay, and that's the interest that they are mentioning here. Since in biology course you definitely going to be studying diseases including cancer, so now you saying understanding these things will help me with a course. Okay, so always think of it like that. This is hopefully will clarify the problem that of just listing experiences and not talking about each experience. So since the beginning of this video, I've been repeating um, or repeatedly saying, write reflective sentences, not descriptive sentences. Try to reflect in your personal statement. So maybe at this point, it's very good to define what reflection is. So this will help you being able to judge whatever sentence you write, whether is it a reflective sentence or a descriptive sentence. So hopefully after this video, that's the main aim of this video, is whatever sentence you write or whatever sentence you see, you would be able to tell whether this is a descriptive sentence or a reflective sentence. So reflection means explaining the following points. So there are specific points that if they are explained in the sentence, then this is a reflective sentence. And these points are: if the sentence states what you noticed, why it mattered, what you learned, whether it changed or developed your understanding, what further question is created. So for example, I attended a lecture about biology, I learned about genetics, and this encouraged me, which is the further action, to take an online genetic course. So now that's a sentence, a reflective sentence. And finally, how it prepared you for the course. You need to make the relevance at the end. So whatever experience you mention, you need to link it back to the course that you are applying for. That's very essential. So whatever sentence you write in your personal statement, you need to run it through these points and make sure that it ticks all the boxes. Okay, if it ticks all the boxes, then this means that you have written a reflective sentence. To make that clearer, let's have a look at a descriptive sentence. So if you have a sentence, or if you have just written a sentence in a personal statement and you're wondering whether this is a descriptive sentence or a reflective sentence, so most of the time you will find that the descriptive sentence answering three main questions, and those are: so the descriptive sentence will state what happened, what did I do, and who or what did I observe. So if the sentence only provides information or answering these three questions, then what you have just written is just a descriptive answer or a descriptive statement. So these type of statements will take a lot of the word count of the person's statement, or the limited word count that you have for the person's statement, and yet it doesn't add any value to the person's statement. In fact, it will just weaken your personal statement when the readers or the admission team compare it to other stronger reflective personal statements. To make that even clearer, when you write a sentence, double check if the sentence answers the following questions, and if it does, then this is a reflective sentence. So the first question is, in addition to that, of course, you telling what happened, what did you do, what you observe, but also the sentence goes further to explain, what did this teach me, why was it important, how did my understanding developed, what did I do as a result. So that's talking about the future or the effect that the experience had on you, why this is relevant to the course. Again, if you write any sentence in the person's statement, you write any experience in the person's statement, make sure that whatever you have written about the experience, run it through these questions. If it does answer these questions, then you have a good reflective answer. If it just answers these three questions, then that's a descriptive sentence, and you're just mainly describing the experience. You are not reflecting on it, and that's weaken your personal statement. So an example to clarify that further, a descriptive sentence would go, during my hospital placement, I observed doctor, nurses, and pharmacists working together. So this sentence only answers these three questions. So it states what happened, which is you did some hospital placement. What did I do? You observed. Who or what did you observe? Doctor, nurses, pharmacists working together. So again, this it seems that the student from this sentence, they are trying to tell the farmers the reader or the admission team that they have seen teamwork. So it's clear that they are trying to say that from the sentence, but they're not actually saying it. And again, that's why they believe that they have written something good, because the meaning in their head, it is in their head, but they are not actually saying it. And again, the take home point, do not expect the admission team to understand or to predict what you mean with the sentence. Okay, if you mean something, then write it down. Do not expect them to just predict what you mean. A better reflective sentence would go, during my hospital placement, I noticed that safe patient care depends on clear communication. So now that's adding more details to the experience. You stating also what you noticed, but this time with a more specific details. Okay, and also now you showing how this affected you. This showed me that medicine requires effective teamwork alongside scientific knowledge. So this is a more complete sentence that tells the reader more information. There is more reflection on this sentence than this just simple sentence. I hope that's clear. But just again, this slide, it's very important when it comes to going through these points and making sure that whatever you have written or whatever experience you talked about, that it is a reflective sentence, not just descriptive. Okay, so now we come to one of the most important points in this video, which is learning the IER planning framework. Before we do that, please, if you find this video helpful, support the channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This will support me a lot and encourages me to upload more videos in the future. Thank you. So let's get back to the course, or to the. So the IER planning framework, make sure that you use it for whenever you want to make a claim in the person statement. When you want to mention an experience, talk about an experience in the framework, in the person statement, run it through this framework and use this framework when writing it. So the framework goes as this. It stands for the IER. It stands for interest, evidence, reflection, and relevance. So whatever experience you are writing about in the person statement, make sure that it fulfills these three points, and it mentions these 3 points for any experience you write about in the person statement. So let's dissect them one by one. So to show interest in the experience, so if you want to talk about a specific experience and you want to show interest now in your writing, make sure the students need to make sure that the sentence would include, or they need to speak about what idea or problem or aspect of the subject interests the student. So if you want to show interest in your sentence, just give a specific idea. So as the sentence we showed previously, they didn't just say that they observed doctors and nurses and pharmacists. They said that for safe patient care, an important communication or a good communication between these three people or these three specialties is important. So it's like that. You're giving an idea, a specific details, not just saying I observed something. To show interest, you need to give a specific idea or problem or aspect of the subject that interests you the most. Then the evidence. The evidence here, it comes where the students need to show or to tell what they have studied or read or observed. So generally what experience they have done. Did you attend a lecture? Did you join an online course? Was you like volunteering? So whatever experience you're going to talk about, that's your evidence, and you need to mention it also in the sentence. Okay. Then it comes to the reflection, and that's what we have learned by now, which is the student need in their sentence to tell what did they notice, what did they learn, what did they question, and also did they reconsider anything, just to show how the experience maybe changed their thinking, or maybe they learned something new that they didn't know before, so now their thinking has changed. Okay. Then it comes the relevance, which is should be the end of each experience you mention in the person statement, to always relate it back to the course that you are applying for. And that by stating why does this matter for the course or the preparation for the course. Okay, so for whatever experience you mention, always try to say why this experience is important for the course you're applying for, or for preparing for the course you're applying for. And hopefully by ticking all these boxes in each sentence you write about any experience, this will, in that way, you will have a full reflective um, um, or a full reflection on each experience you mention in the person statement. So let's now have a real examples on how to use the IER framework, and hopefully this will make it more like clearer for you. So this is going to be an example for applying for biomedical sciences courses, like for example microbiology, immunology, things like that. So I think that starting with how a weak sentence look like and then apply the IER framework to it. So the weak version is, I'm interested in antimicrobial resistance because it's a major global problem. Hopefully by this point in the video, you can say that this sentence is weak because there's no reflection. It doesn't tell the student what the student exactly learned, what did they notice, how that changed their mind, or changed how they think about the subject. How is that relevant to the subject that they are applying for? Okay, so mainly they are just describing what they have done, or what, it's just a descriptive sentence. So let's apply the IER framework to it now. So the sentence, it's kind of has some interest in it. So the students could have written just, I became interested in antimicrobial resistance, and then goes further to show evidence. And these evidence could be, after reading an article about resistance to tuberculosis, I explored how antibiotic use creates selection pressure. So this sentence clearly shows the admission team or the reader of your personal statement what the experience you have had, how you developed this interest that you claimed at the beginning of the sentence. So here they claim that they are interested, but they didn't say how this interest sparked, or how did it begin. So here it shows that what they have done and how the interest has started. Then they need to go further to reflect. So what they could have said, I realized that resistance is not simply caused by stronger bacteria, but by selection pressure, transmission, and treatment practices. So here it shows what they have learned, and that there is a new thing that they didn't know about before, which they thought that it's not simply because of stronger bacteria, that what the students, it seems that what the students believed at the beginning, but they learn new things. So now they are reflecting on the experience of reading that article. And they didn't stop there. They went to show the relevance, which is the final R of the IER framework. And they stated that this developed my interest in studying microbiology alongside the wider public health factors affecting disease control. So if that student is applying for example, microbiology or immunology or things like that, now having these three separate sentences in one paragraph, this will give the admission team and the reader the full context of the experience you had and what you learned from it, and why is it important and relevant to the course you're applying for. So the benefit of using the IER framework it's automatically prevents you from using or stating unsupported enthusiasm. It prevents activity lists, which is one of the most common mistakes that the students have when writing person statements, which is just keep listing the experiences. Avoid prevents you from stating empty claims. So everything you mention, it's gonna hold some weight in the person statement. So it's not gonna be just empty claims. You're showing the evidence, the reflection, and the relevance to the course. Okay. It prevents you from mentioning any irrelevant personal details, and also it prevents reflection that never connects to the course, and that's from the final R, which is the relevance. And that's many students, when writing personal statement, they forget to state how this experience at the end is linked to the course they are applying for. So the last point I want to cover in this video is a very common problem that was raised by many students, and I see a lot of person statements suffer from that problem, which is when the students have too many experiences. They have worked so hard in the past few years before applying to the course, and they developed a good list, and they obtained a good list of experiences, and now they are ready to write about them. So the first thing that you need to learn and be aware of, that you do not need to include every experience you have obtained. You cannot include that. The space limit that you have for when writing a personal statement wouldn't allow you to do that. Also, it's very likely that not all experiences you have obtained are highly relevant to the course you applied for. So that's why you need to think about ways to filter all these experiences, okay? And I will give you here few questions. Make sure that you run these questions over any experience you want to add. And if you find that adding this experience will answer these questions, then it is a valuable experience to add to the person statement. So the first question is, did this develop my knowledge, understanding, or skills in relation to the course? So does this experience that you want to mention, does it develop, or did it develop any knowledge, understanding, or skills that will prepare you or maybe will help you when you are doing the course? A second question, can I explain something specific that I learned? Okay, as I said before, do not make your statements general and superficial. You need to make them very clear with very specific examples. So ask yourself this question when you want to add an experience. Can I explain something specific that I learned when doing that experience? Is the learning relevant to the course? That's very important as well. Okay, doing some experiences, as I said, not all experiences is going to be relevant to the course, and even if they are relevant, you should have a rank. Okay, so you need to prioritize some experiences over others because they are more relevant to the course than something else, than other course maybe. Okay, so you need to answer this question: is it the learning relevant to the course? Then, does it add something different from many other examples that I have mentioned in the personal statement? And that's also a common mistakes that the students have when writing a personal statement. They mention different experiences, but at the end, all these three experiences, they develop the same skill. And when the students use that and do this or have this mistake, they usually waste a lot of the limited word count they have on just proving the same point. Okay, for example, mentioning three experiences, and all of them they say it improved my communication skills. So they just wasted word counts. Okay, so they could have just mentioned one experience, and then they mentioned it improved their communication skills, and then they go to a different experience and mention different skills that they have developed. Okay, so you need to ask yourself, when you are adding a new experience, does it add any new skills, or does it show any new skills that you have developed, or does it just confirms what you have already mentioned in your person statement previously? And lastly, can I explain it meaningfully in the available space? Some experiences are too long. Some experiences, as I said, they are not as important as other. So make sure that, and always be aware of the word count limit that you have for the person statement. For the points of duplication, I will emphasize more that you need to be aware of what skills you have mentioned, and what experiences you have mentioned, and what skills you have developed, so you don't keep repeating yourself. For example, mentioning 3 experiences that all concluded with "this improved my teamwork" may become repetitive, okay, and it will waste a lot of the word count you have. And also make sure that for one experience, you will likely to develop more than one skill, okay? So try to make a good variety of skills that you develop, and pick the experiences that develop different skills in you. This will save you a lot of the word counts by mentioning just one experience, however many skills have been developed through doing that experience. So a more balanced selection may demonstrate in the person statement the following skills. Of course, in addition to teamwork, which is an important skill that you need to show in the person statement, but also having a balanced demonstration of other skills such as academic curiosity, critical thinking, communications, showing responsibilities, and realistic course understanding. So if your person statements has multiple experiences that shows that you have developed these different skills, then that's going to be the best option you would have when writing a person statement. So by that, we came to the end of our video for today. I hopefully you find that helpful, and organize your thoughts about how to reflect in your person statement. Please, if you find the video helpful, support the channel through liking, commenting, sharing, and also subscribing. This will encourage me to upload more video, and see you in the next video.